We saw those long lines in Florida today where early voting is now underway. In the last 6 election cycles, no candidate has won the White House without winning the Sunshine State. And with a close battle expected again for Florida, there's a new focus from both the Trump and Biden campaigns on a group growing in size and importance in that state: Puerto Rican voters, some of whom will be voting for the very first time since moving to the state after Hurricane Maria struck the island in 2017. So ABC's Rachel Scott traveled to Central Florida, where this critical constituency of Puerto Rican voters is looking to make their voices heard.
Outside a Super 8 motel in Kissimmee, Florida, Maria Baez clenches her necklace. The names of the family she left behind in Puerto Rico etched in silver. This place means a lot to me, she tells me. Fleeing Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria in 2017 with her grandson Daniel, this motel became home for 8 months.
Hurricane Maria was a hurricane that destroyed us all. It destroyed us personally, economically, emotionally, and the nights were horrible. To have my grandson say, "Grandma, I'm thirsty." I'm thirsty, and to not have any cold water to give him. That was one of the reasons why I decided I had to leave Puerto Rico.
3 years later, Maria says she's still fighting for a better quality of life. 8-year-old Daniel has special needs and still struggles to walk on his own. She tells me health care is on the ballot this election, and she's backing Joe Biden.
I see him as a politician who wants to fight for the United States, who can provide us with both health care and personal benefits, and someone who can help us move forward and have a better quality of life.
Hispanics are on track to become the largest minority voting bloc, with roughly 2.4 million Latinos registering to vote in Florida, making up a record 17% of the state's total. The Latino population in the Sunshine State is diverse, and so are their politics. For decades, presidential candidates have always fought to win over Republican-leaning Cuban voters, largely concentrated in South Florida. But this election cycle, a growing push to mobilize Puerto Ricans along the I-4 corridor across Central Florida, a critical stretch of highway running from Daytona Beach to Tampa, where both campaigns are battling for voters. Dr. Fernando Rivera, a professor at the University of Central Florida, has been tracking the movement of Puerto Ricans to the area for more than 10 years.
It's sort of a purple area, right? So people go back and forward between Democrat and Republican. And I think that the Trump campaign has, taken into account that they don't necessarily need to win the whole percentage of the Puerto Rican vote or the Hispanic vote. They just need enough. And on the other side, Democrats and especially the Biden campaign has to make sure that the turnout is there. That not only the support that is showing in the polls is there, but that it translates into votes.
Even as U.S. citizens, Puerto Ricans who live on the island have no say in who becomes the next president. But that changes once they move to the mainland. Helping Puerto Ricans navigate the democratic process, groups like Latino Justice.
So right now we have a campaign underway. It's called Pa Luego es Tarde, which loosely translates to the sooner the better. And the aim of this campaign is to reach Latino voters in Florida in Spanish, but particularly Latino voters who live in rural areas that don't necessarily get the same attention.
We met Margie Santos, a Puerto Rican voter who moved to Florida from New York this year. In the lead up to Election Day, Margie is pounding the pavement, working with Latinos for Trump and Republican chicas to drive turnout.
What do you fear will happen if Joe Biden wins?
I really fear that this country is going to go downhill. One, because he does not support biblical values, and it's just going to become a socialist country. It's going to be something that we're not going to want to live in. Our freedoms are going to be taken away.
At 45 years old, she's also a first-time voter. And even after losing 2 of her uncles in the U.S. to COVID-19, she tells me her support for the president never wavered.
I stand with the president in that we cannot let it control our lives.
But for another first-time voter, it's Trump's handling of the pandemic that's giving him pause.
Well, it created kind of a perfect storm for a tough financial situation.
Thomas Ward, a restaurant owner in Orlando, grew up in Puerto Rico. This year, he was forced to close one of his restaurants and lay off 20 members of his staff. With just 15 days to go, he's still undecided.
A lot of the things that Trump he shoots from the hip, and he creates a frenzy. And that's That's one of the situations that I dislike about that. He just shoots and doesn't think of the repercussions. And then we have the other candidate, Biden, which I think is a good candidate also. But he's pushing for some situations where, for example, $15 an hour, that's a really tough situation to push right now in a bad economy.
And for him, it's not just a race for the White House, but all of Washington on the ballot.
And at this point right now, what we need is just leadership as a whole, not only in the presidential situation, but in Congress and in the House to make decisions so that we can move the country forward.
And with Puerto Ricans being the fastest growing part of the Hispanic electorate, these first-time voters say the stakes are too high to sit out. For ABC News Live, Rachel Scott, Orlando, Florida.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.